I'm calling to this meeting to order at 4:37 p.m. We're going to start with the territorial acknowledgement. Respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coquitlam, and Katzie nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we're currently situated on occupied territories. We're now going to move to roll call of attendance. So when I call on you, please state your name, your pronouns, and your accessibility needs. Behavioral neuroscience.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, my name is Sandrap. My preferred pronouns are she or hers, and all my accessibility needs have been met. Thank you.
Thank you, Manroop. Biology. It's a representative from Bio here. All right, moving on. Chemistry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Michelle. I am the chem rep. I go by the pronouns of she, her, hers, and my access needs have been met.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. Cognitive science. All right, thank you, Roland. Computer science, sent in their regrets. Criminology. All right, thank you, Eva. Education.
Yep, Adrienne, she, her, and all my access needs are being met right now.
Thank you, Adrienne. Engineering science.
Yeah, good. Alvin, he, him, all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Alvin. Is that English?
Hi, Liz. My pronouns are she, her, and all of my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you, Liz. Environmental science, sent in her regrets. French. Is the French representative here?
Yeah, hi, Sharon, she, her, and needs are met.
Thank you. Gender, sexuality, and women's studies. The GSWS representative present. Geography.
Evangeline here, she, her, all of my access needs are met.
Thank you. History.
Alan, he, him, my access needs are met.
Thank you. Humanities.
Hi, my name is Sarah, she, her, hers, and all my needs are met.
Thank you, Sarah. Interactive arts and technology. Is the IAT rep here? All right. International studies.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aaliyah. My pronouns are she and her, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Labor studies.
Hi, my name is Justin. My pronouns are he, him, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Linguistics.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm filling in for Allie. My pronouns are she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Mechatronics.
Hi, my name is Kimia, she, her, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Kimia. MBB.
Hi, my name is Kyle, he, him, all my needs are met.
Thank you, Kyle. Operations research.
Hi, my name is Ash. He, him would work, and yeah, all my access needs are met.
Thank you. Philosophy.
Hi, my name is Tony. He, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Tony. Physics. Is the physics representative present? Political science.
Hi, everyone. My name is Helen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. All my access needs are met. Zaid, I'm just going to keep my camera off for the first half of the meeting. Just eating a little bit of a late lunch right now.
No problem. Science. My name is Zaid. He, him, his, and my access needs are met. Society of Arts and Social Sciences.
Hi, my name is Simran, and my pronouns are she, her, and my access needs have been met.
Thank you, Simran. Sociology and Anthropology.
Hi, Kayla, and all my she or hers and all my access needs are met.
Thank you, Kayla. Software systems. Is the software systems representative present? Thought I saw Quince in here earlier. All right, statistics.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my mic. Software systems is present.
All right, no problem. Statistics and actuarial science. I think I received regrets from him. That's fine. World literature. I also received regrets from her as well. Now we're on to our constituency group representatives. Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance.
Hey, my name is Serena. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you, Serena. Out on campus has sent in their regrets. Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Hi there, my name is Ryan. Pronouns are he, him, his. My access needs are met, but I will be switching devices about halfway through, so I'll probably have to rejoin.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And Soka also sent in their regrets. It's understandable. Exams season is still going right now, and I mean, people are busy, so of course we do have quite a few people that are not present. Thankfully, we do have quorum. Oh yes, we also need to introduce our members from the board. President is not present. I believe External Relations is not present either. Is VP Finance here?
Hi, VP Finance, Corbett. Pronouns are he, him, his, and access needs are met.
Thank you, Corbett. VP Student Services.
Hi, it's Matthew here, VP Student Services. My pronouns are he, him, his. My accessibility needs for right now, I'm helping out with the food hub. I might have to go wait outside because we got to bring the food back inside, and I also have my younger brother with me, so I'm juggling a lot of roles, so be patient with me. Just trying to juggle all this stuff right now. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for attending. VP Student Life.
Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer, she, her pronouns, and I'm just on mobile right now, so it's kind of a struggle, but it's better than my laggy computer. Also, just be patient with me.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. VP University Relations, I believe he is not present today. Are either of our at-large reps present? Paul Keys or Poom, are either of you present? Don't believe so. Faculty reps, are any of our faculty reps present? Don't believe so. The food hub is going on right now, so quite a few of the board members are also busy, which is totally fine. Moving on, we're going to move to item 4.1, adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Does anyone move this motion?
Software Systems moves this motion.
Software Systems moves. Does anyone second?
Political science seconds.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Is there any discussion on this motion? Yes, Adrian.
I would like to amend the agenda to include a following motion. Should I just read it?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So our motion is, whereas the goal of the Public Outreach Committee is to facilitate the communication. I'm gonna actually also copy this in the chat for you all. Okay, I'll just read it. Whereas the goal of the Public Outreach Committee is to facilitate the communication of the goals, activities, and identity of the Council to the public and the SFU student body, whereas the SFSS Council has no official method for communication with the student membership and has no dedicated space on the SFSS website. Be it resolved that the Council requests the Board authorize Council to create social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Be it further resolved that Council requests the Board authorize society staff to support Council's management and ownership of these accounts. Be it further resolved that Council requests the Board authorize society staff to create a section on the SFSS website for Council. And be it further resolved that Council delegates the management of Council social media accounts to the Public Outreach Committee until April 30th, 2021. And I'll send the rest into the chat box.
All right, thank you, Adrian. Does anyone second this amendment?
Political science seconds.
Political science seconds. Seeing no discussion, we're going to move to vote on this amendment. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this amendment passes. Back to the main motion again. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. I'm going to move to amend the agenda. So I'd like to move to amend the agenda, including a section with the motion. Be it resolved to ratify regrets from Anthony Kim, Caitlin Heidi, Brian Van Sickle, Victor Yin, Sedol Henry, and Figor Ubuwama. Does anyone second?
Software system seconds this motion.
Software system seconds. Seeing no objections, we're going to move to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this amendment passes. Back to the main motion again. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. I'm going to move again to amend the agenda, including a discussion item, board committee updates. Does anyone second this amendment?
Software system seconds this amendment.
Political science.
Software system
Give it to
seconds. Seeing no objections, we'll see no discussion, we'll move to vote. Seek unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this amendment carries. All right, back again to the main motion. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Seeing no further discussion, we're now going to vote on this motion. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries as amended. Right, so the next motion that we're going to vote on is the ratification of regrets. So the motion reads, be it resolved to ratify regrets from Anthony Kim, Caitlin Heidi, Ryan Van Sickle, Victor Yin, Seidel Henry, and Figor Ubuoma. Does anyone move this motion?
Software systems moves this motion.
Software systems moves. Does anyone second?
HSU seconds.
Is that history? History seconds?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
No problem. We'll now move to discussion. Is there any discussion on this item? I don't expect any. We're now going to move to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries. All right, we're now on to item 5, so 5.1, council liaison. Our primary council liaison, Brian Vansickle, is unable to attend today, so we will have our alternate council liaison deliver her report on his behalf. Kayla? Seems that Kayla has left the meeting. Give her a moment to join back in. We'll just skip ahead and let the board liaison deliver their report first then. It's fine, Brian. Jennifer, you have the floor.
Okay, I think the thing that I just linked was the board liaison report. I hope that's the right link. I'm on mobile. It's really confusing. Okay, it looks like it's the right link. So I'm just going to go through this really quickly in the interest of time. You can see at the top, there were 2 notable motions. So basically, the UPass was voted on at the last meeting. We are reinstating it for the future. The second one is that we voted on giving professional Greek-like organizations and fraternities permanent club status. So this is different from the social fraternities. This is more professional. So I think there's a business one and a med one. Okay, so moving on, you can see a lot more detail in this report that I linked. But basically, we had some motions regarding the accessibility fund, like just moving funds around because some of the money was not used. And then you can read the details here. We also had a motion on the events committee annual plan. I linked the spreadsheet in the document, so you can check it out to see what cool events we have planned. We had our SFSS staff picking offices. Yeah, what Poom said in the chat. Okay, anyway, for the Street Fest booth, basically SFU reached out to me and then they were like, does SFSS want a booth at Street Fest? And Street Fest is going to be like augmented reality. It's really cool. They have this like gondola thing and you can take a selfie, like your virtual self can take a selfie, and they have this drone footage of something like flying over Burnaby Mountain or whatever, but they wanted me to keep it like very low key, so don't go promoting this information everywhere in case it doesn't work out because it's still in development. But I know this meeting is public, so can't really help that. Anyway, Farm to Campus in Surrey. Basically, there was a survey to see the needs of students in Surrey and regarding their food security. And we passed a motion allocating $1,500 to the Farm to Campus initiative, which kind of provides financial relief regarding food costs to students in Surrey. So it's kind of like that food hub program that Matt is at right now, except it would be in Surrey. We also passed the motion to approve money for board SFSS branded jackets because the student union building is opening soon, hopefully. So it would be good to wear these jackets and take nice pictures. We also changed our strategic plan mission statement. So we added some stuff about advocacy and student power. You can read the exact wording in the document that I linked in the chat. There was something with the health and dental plan. So we had to approve a payment of 691,837.48. Sorry, I'm not great with numbers, but it's all in the document. It's something to do with retention accounting, which allows for greater transparency on costs associated with the health and dental plan. You can read more numbers in this document. It's very detailed. Yes, what Corbett said, that's a nice round number, much easier to deal with. Anyway, the next motion was the UPass, which I already talked about. We figured that students would save a lot more money if we reinstated the UPass, because instead, if students needed the UPass and we didn't have it, they would be out like $100, $200 a month. But if we did reinstate the UPass and students pay for it, but they don't need it, they would only be missing out on like $42.50. So it's ultimately cheaper to help the students who do need the UPass for like transit, for work, and other stuff. We had some appointments to committees. The board organizer hiring committee and the operations organizer hiring committee was established. So board organizer is like the person who handles board stuff and like helps us out with room bookings and scheduling meetings. The operations organizer is more like HR stuff and supporting member services and facilities. So this person can help with recruiting, training, etc. You can read more details on the document. There was a TMX letter update. So our science representative and our environment representative were working on this letter against the pipeline, and a bunch of groups signed on in support of this letter. So these groups are against having the pipeline. And then the next discussion item was the Greek life organizations, and then we amended the agenda to make it into a motion. And now professional fraternities have permanent club status. And the main reasoning for this was like professional fraternities aren't really doing anything bad. They're just like there to provide help and resources for like med students, pre-med students, I think. They're not like social fraternities. So we kind of trusted them to be responsible and all that. Then we talked about SFSS rebranding because the current logo doesn't have a lot of meaning behind it. It was something randomly chosen, I guess. So we might want to start a working group regarding rebranding the SFSS. Then lastly, we talked about building relationships with host nations because it's part of our strategic planning and we needed to strengthen Indigenous relationships. And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Jennifer. I just had a question actually regarding the health and dental payment. Maybe Corbett could answer this, but the $700,000, is that an increased cost from last year, or is this covering something where maybe our collective fees? Maybe you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So in 2017-2018 board year, the board went through a process where they kind of did a competitive process for see if we wanted to get a new healthcare provider, both a service provider and also the insurance company. They ended up still going with Student Care, the current group we've been working with for I think over a decade. And they ended up going with a different insurance company, Pacific Blue Cross. They also that year decided to change the accounting model that we go with these groups, where in the past they did something called full accounting, where basically we would every year we'd negotiate a fee with the insurers Pacific Blue Cross. And they would and we would pay that out throughout the year, and that fee would be charged to students. And then if there was any surplus or any deficit, in the sense of like, say we had a lot of students who use the program, use the health and dental plan a lot more than expected, the insurer would take on that cost. But if there was people if we had a year where a lot of students didn't use it as much, maybe it wasn't advertised very well, or who knows what, then the insurer would also keep any surplus. So the board at the time thought we should. They felt that for many years we were overpaying on these fees, and so we wanted to have more. They wanted more transparency to see what costs were actually like, and if there was surpluses being made, as they thought, the society should benefit from that. And this also resulted in a lowering of the student fee up to about $50 a year per student, which is quite a bit. And so that's what they did going forward. Now, what this particular deficit is, what we found out though further down the road was that no, there was actually an increased usage than expected, and there's actually a deficit of almost $700,000. The reason why we're finding out about it now instead of a year or so ago is a combination of the actual plan for the insurance does not follow our fiscal year. Instead of starting and ending from May, it starts in September and ends in end of August. So it's shifted up by about a term. And then after that, there's also a one-term grace period for people to submit late claims. So what happens is we as a society now get a final bill, so to speak, either a surplus or a deficit in spring around February. However, that's when COVID hit this year, and that delayed the entire process, and we ended up getting the bill in May. So normally the previous board would have dealt with this, and the previous council would have found out about this. But because of combination COVID and this new process, our board got the hit. And so we had to, working with ours, we had to make sure that we passed a motion to cover this deficit. So going forward, we have a couple options. We could either change our model to go back to the way it was, where it's just a flat rate, and we just, whether it's good or bad, that's just what we pay.
Okay. Corbett, sorry about cutting you off there, but maybe you can get back to this when we go to our reports. Sorry about that. All right, where were we? So we had a report. Thank you for answering that question. Now we're just going to go to our reports from the executive directors. So the president sends her regrets. She'll be delivering her report at our next meeting. Next up is VP University.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was not supposed to be here either. I was supposed to be writing an exam right now. I finished early, so I thought I'd hop on. I didn't actually write down what I was prepared to say, but I'm going to wing it a little bit. So thank you for having me. Over the last 2 weeks, I've worked on a lot of very big projects within my portfolio as VP University Relations. Some of the big topics we're talking about are in relation to COVID-19 advocacy. And of course, some of the topics that we have consistently been fighting for over the course of this semester are related to issues such as exam invigilation and having more asynchronous and a mix of asynchronous and synchronous learning, so that students can work at their own pace more, and the university to recognize some of the struggles that students are facing in terms of working from home. The next big thing that, is a big issue is tuition increases. And tuition is set to increase starting in the fall, in the middle of a pandemic, which to us, the board, and to, I'm sure, many students here, is really awfully disgusting that, we can't see a decrease in tuition. At the very least, tuition should remain the same, but that it's going up, it's quite appalling in my view. So we are working on campaigns and tactics to figure out ways to push back against the university on continuing to push tuition increases. Outside of my portfolio, in terms of my role as chair of our governance committee, I've been working very, very hard on our ongoing bylaw review. And per the resolution that council passed at its last meeting, supporting the model that I presented regarding making council the legal board of directors again and giving it more accountability and oversight powers of the board of directors, which would then be called the executive committee under this new model. Been working very hard with the governance committee, and we have struck a new bylaw joint working group on the bylaw review, which includes representatives from the board and multiple representatives from council, including your chair and your vice chair, and various other councillors who have graciously volunteered their time to represent the interests of council in this bylaw review. So, and I guess on top of that, been working very hard to plan the annual general meeting, which we are voting on calling that meeting at the board meeting on Friday, a tentative date for August 26th, 3:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon, where all of that exciting stuff regarding the bylaws will be happening. So that's some of my big projects that I've been working on. And of course, outside of this meeting, feel free to email me or contact me in virtually any way possible, through whether through Facebook or Instagram. I'm always available. So thank you for letting me give my report, and please do contact me for anything at all.
Thank you, Gabe. We'll move on. VP External. I see he's not in attendance, so I'm going to see that he'll be delivering his report then at our next meeting. VP Finance, Corbett.
Hi. So I'll try to be quick with my report, and if there's any additional questions about the health and dental stuff, I'm happy to answer that. So mostly I've been focused on 3 or 4 main things. One is the administrative restructuring. I'm part of the personnel and HR committee, so we have more or less approved the 2 job descriptions for the two new administrative positions, the operational organizer and board organizer. I'm part of the hiring committee for the operations organizer, so we'll be getting that up and running fairly soon. I've been also heavily involved with organizing the board side of the move to the sub. So packing the board office, sorting out inventorying and sorting out files, going through some of the history of the SFS. It's been quite a bit of fun. Another part is the audit. The audit is finally finished, and we will be approving the draft at this Friday's board meeting. And then we can send this out to council and to the rest of the board, and to everyone else. And that's been quite a significant amount of work. It's taken about a month longer than originally planned, simply a combination of COVID and the administrative restructuring kind of caused a bit of a challenge. But I'm happy that it's been finished, and I'll give a summary of it in a document form to make it easier for everyone. And that's really about it. So thanks.
Thank you, Corbett. VP Student Services, I see Matt there. Is he heading back? Hey there, Matt. Okay, I see. It seems like he left. If he returns, he can give his update. Otherwise, he can do it at the next meeting then. Oh, there he's back. Matt, you want to deliver your report?
Sorry, I've never been on the phone thing for Google, but I'm learning. So my report, I'll make it quick. Pretty much the last couple of weeks, what I've been working on was mainly trying to get like the Surrey Farm to Campus food hub going. So that's kind of taken up a lot of time for me. It got passed last week, and the first sign up was this week. So it'll be going. I'll be checking it out next week to see how many students will be going there. A big part of what I've been doing right now is kind of streamlining a lot of my work with health and counseling services. And making sure that SFSS has a proper, I guess, kind of just working on that communication barrier that health and counseling services didn't have with SFSS before. So I'm trying to make those relationships, and I'm through the BIPOC committee. We'll be talking to health and counseling services to make sure that there's more diverse and equitable services to support Black and Indigenous people of color community and health and counseling services. That'll be taking up quite a bit of time before school because I'm trying to get some promotional material and also try plan for some health and counseling like events for fall, because I know that it's going to be a little bit more difficult with students online, and there's been, you can never have too little support. So I'm trying to make that a little bit more manageable for students. Was kind of what Jennifer brought up briefly was, building those connections with the host nations. So I've been working with a lot of reconciliation work that I plan to do is more so reach out to the host nations and make those connections more stable. And hopefully that's an ongoing project that other boards will take on and kind of leave that contact info. And then I've been trying to find ways to make more resources accessible for, looking at indigenizing or decolonizing ways of knowing and doing that work in community here. And as of right now, I know I did an update a few weeks ago, so there's not really much to add on, but it's mostly been like the food hub, the reconciliation piece, and then also health and counseling services. So that's kind of my update for right now.
Thank you, Matt. Before you go, do you think you can ask Samad if he's intending on delivering his report at the next meeting? We saw him in the back there. Maybe you could ask him for us.
Oh, he's just walking away right now, but I can let him know. I'll let him know when he comes back. He'll be back shortly, and then I'll give him an update. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, VP Student Life, Jennifer.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to send two documents. I think the first one is the Accessibility Advisory Committee debrief meeting notes. And then the second one, I think it's the events committee, but hopefully that's right. But basically, I'm going to go over the accessibility one first. I write down all my meeting notes in here just to make things easier and keep a record. But at our last meeting, we passed a motion about an accessibility coordinator. So that's something I've been working on because we're thinking of hiring an accessibility designated assistant to help us with all of our work. Because yeah, so the coordinator is different from the assistant because the coordinator would be more full-time and not like it's more permanent. It's like how we have an out on campus coordinator and women's center coordinator, etc. Since the Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance has a room in the student union building, we thought that this coordinator could help out with recruitment and support for students. So I did not want this project to just like disappear after my board term, which is why this motion is here now and it's going to go to the board meeting just to make sure we actually commit to this. Some other things, we passed the motion on our annual plan. We have a lot to get done this year. So I personally have been working on researching accessibility audits with the help of the policy research campaigns coordinator, Sarah. We are also going to be working on the appendices of the accessibility standard policy, but I haven't really started that yet. Yesterday, I wrote a briefing note about the accessibility fund bursary. It was actually the Serena, our counselor of Disability and Neurodiversity Alliance's idea. And basically, this would be a bursary for students who need funding for various access needs. So that's what I've been working on with this committee. You can read more about what we've been doing in this document that I linked, except it's more like a team effort. It's not really like just a me only thing. So maybe Serena can go over a bit of that later if she wants to. So for the events committee, this one I'm a bit more involved in because it's kind of difficult to get students engaged, but I'm really trying. So tomorrow there will be a pad thai workshop. We got a Taiwanese chef to host a workshop for pad thai basically, and I will be there also trying to make pad thai. It will be either a hilarious thing or a failure for me. So if you want to register for that, registration's closed, but just message me or something and I can get you in. It's tomorrow at 2 p.m. So I was working on that. Some other things, I've been supporting other events. I also spearheaded this time management workshop event. So I got somebody to teach on time management and student productivity. So that will happen in September to help students like start the semester off in the right foot. I will be supporting this music fest / streaming event. I know it's not fall kickoff concert, but you know, it's as close as we can get right now for music lovers. We have a bunch of other events coming up that you can read about, and Adrian, who's our council rep on the committee, can probably go over them a bit more. Another thing, our SFSS _ events Instagram, which Adrian and I both handle. Please follow it and check it out because next month in September, we will be giving away a $50 gift card for Flower Girl Baking cinnamon buns, which are delicious. Another thing I've been working on is an SFU trivia night / movie night event, and it will be Kahoot trivia about SFU, like what is this avocado statue called? And then hopefully that will be happening next Friday on September 4th. And that's all for my report.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great stuff you're working on there. Just 1 second here. Gotta check out what's next. We're moving on to item 7. My screen just kind of froze. 1 second. Oh, there we go. All right, we are now moving on to item 7, 7.1, our motion on the Sustainable Energy Engineering Society. The motion reads, whereas the School of Sustainable Energy Engineering is a newly established school within the Faculty of Applied Sciences at Simon Fraser University, whereas the Sustainable Energy Engineering Student Society is a student union recognized by the Simon Fraser Student Society, be it resolved to establish a seat for the Sustainable Energy Engineering Student Society on the SFSS Council. Does anyone move this motion?
Engineering moves.
Engineering
Software
moves.
system seconds.
I didn't ask for it yet, but thank you, Quince. Software system seconds. All right, we're now going to move to discussion. Is there any discussion on this motion? I believe I sent out the notice probably 3 to 4 weeks back, so there was quite a bit of notice for this motion. I was contacted by the newly formed SEESS. Basically, they were asking to have a seat and maybe to potentially deliver a presentation. So yeah, we're going to be establishing this seat here with this motion. Is there any discussion? Any comments? Wouldn't really think so. Moving on, we're now going to move on this motion. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries. All right, perfect. We're going to move on to our other motion, the one that was just proposed earlier. The public outreach motion, which reads, whereas the goal of the Public Outreach Committee is to facilitate the communication of the goals, activities, and identity of the Council to the public and the SFU student body, whereas the SFSS Council has no official method for communication with the student membership and has no dedicated space on the SFSS website. Be it resolved, the Council requests the Board authorize Council to create social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Be it further resolved that Council requests the Board authorize Society staff to support Council's management and ownership of these accounts. Be it further resolved that Council requests the Board authorize Society staff to create a section on the SFSS website for Council. Be it further resolved that Council delegates the management of Council's social media accounts to the Public Outreach Committee until April 30th, 2021. Does anyone move this motion?
Political science moves.
Political science moves. Does anyone second?
Can I second my own motion?
Yes, Adrian.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. What is your department?
Education.
Adrian, what is your department? Education seconds. Perfect. All right, we're going to move to discussion.
Education?
Yeah, thank you. We're going to move to discussion now on this motion. Are there any questions or comments regarding this motion? Would anyone like to speak? Yes, Helen?
Or anything like that, but I just want to give my excitement and just all my, just happiness and excitement towards Adrienne and her Council Public Outreach Committee. They have lots of great ideas and lots of projects coming their way, and I'm really glad that Adrienne already has that experience on handling social media and whatnot through the board events committee. I'm just really excited, and this is a good way to get ourselves out there and just show the student body, this is what Council does, this is who we are. We got a whole bunch of good stuff coming around. So thank you again, Adrienne, for your leadership. I'm so excited to see what's coming up with your committee.
All right, thank you, Helen. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this motion? Any other comments? All right, seeing that I don't believe there will be much contention, I'm going to move for unanimous consent. Seeking unanimous consent, if you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. Seeing no objections, this motion carries. All right, perfect. We're going to move on to discussion now. We have our item, sorry, let me find that. Item 7.1, or sorry, item 8.1, status of professional Greek life organizations on campus. So just a little bit of context on this, as was mentioned earlier, the board passed a motion giving quote unquote professional Greek life organizations on campus official club status. meaning that they are now affiliated with the SFSS and receive funding from student fees like any other club. Just something to keep in mind is that clubs at SFU receive $400 in resource funding per semester and are also able to request grants and book rooms on campus without charge. Something I'd like to note also is that frats and sororities are exclusive organizations, which, as far as I know, violates the SFSS policies regarding inclusiveness of clubs. All clubs are open to be joined by members of the SFSS, whereas Greek life organizations have an exclusive admissions process. An example of this is looking into the pre-med fraternity, Pi Delta Epsilon, which requires a cumulative GPA of at least a 3.2 in order to join, as well as paying a $200 fee upon joining the group and then $100 in each subsequent September. Just bringing this up, looking at it, looks like a violation of the SFSS's policy regarding clubs being open for all students to be able to join, seeing that it's a selective process that is used for frats to introduce new members. Before we open the floor for everyone to give their opinions, I'd just like to ask maybe any of the board members here what they've done to consult the membership regarding this decision. Has there been any form of survey completed to indicate general support for giving these Greek life organizations club status? Maybe a little bit of context also on the history and what considerations have been taken in. So if any board member would like to speak, they may speak as well. Counselors, I'd like to hear your opinion as well on this, and whether you do support giving our dollars to these exclusive groups. If you'd like to speak, please list yourself in the chat. Yes, Quint?
So I have a question, and that question is, do we give women in computing science funding? I know they're another group that's somewhat exclusive because they're a female advocacy group that's trying to empower women, and I knew at one point, this might be outdated information now, but they did not let any males on their executive team. Are we giving them money, yes or no?
Yes, Alvin?
Yeah, so this is from what I know. In comparison, Women in Engineering is a SFSS club, whereas Women in Computing Science is part of Faculty of Applied Sciences, and they get funding from them. Versus, rather, Women in Computing Science, I don't believe they are a SFSS club.
Thank you for the clarification there, Alvin. So the women in, sorry, was it engineering or computer science, the one that Quince mentioned, is not a part of the SFSS, rather they are associated with SFU. The frats we're talking about here will be associated with the SFSS per this motion that was passed by the board. Would anyone else like to speak? Whom are you interested in speaking? You have the floor. Okay. If anyone else would like to speak on this, please list yourself. Yes, Poom?
The argument for their original removal as club status. So first off, they were always a club, like Alpha Kappa Psi and Phi Delta Epsilon were both clubs and have been clubs since for a couple decades now. The SFU administration didn't want to remove their club status because they weren't inclusive or anything. It's because they didn't want the stigma surrounding frats and sororities to essentially be on SFU. So their argument, or at least like SFU Senate's argument, was that they didn't want to be liable if the fraternities engaged in like activities with like alcohol or partying, or they may like vandalize property or like deface property. The reason why we decided to not revoke the club status was because the community at SFU already exists and has existed for years. We don't want to remove the health science students and other science students' ability to join this organization. This organization has done a lot of good work with the SFSS in the past. Like they've hosted charity drives, they've hosted professional networking events where students get to network with current doctors and medical school faculty in the field. So we decided to let them continue with being a club.
All right, thank you, Poom. I kind of have two questions before we go on and let Helen speak. First of all, can anyone join this club? Is this club open to anyone to join? As my understanding, fraternities have an admissions process which is selective and exclusive. If you read on their website, they discriminate based on your GPA for who may join their frat. Second, is this not part of an external organization? Generally, frats have external organizations that oversee them, or is this frat one that was based in and created within the SFSS? Yes, Poom?
No, technically no. Like the membership in the sort of executive committee is not exclusive. Like you've stated before that there is you have to donate money and then you have to go through a lengthy interview process. But I don't believe it's not for profit. I don't think. Like the organizations, in terms of like the organization itself, it's similar to how UNICEF is not an SFU organization or Red Cross is not an SFU organization. It's a chapter, but the running of the club itself is owned by the executive committee.
Right. So when it comes to admissions, though, and membership, my question is that they have a selective process where to be even a general member and to attend some of their events, you need to be part of their fraternity. So through their website, which I've looked at, I mean, I'm speaking only on this frat. I don't know the business frat that has also been included, but it seems that they do have a selective process for who can join and who cannot, whereas, as I believe this is the general policy for the SFSS, that you cannot discriminate against members who can attend and join your events based on whether it's race, the country that they come from, religion, or even their education or their, their academic performance, which is clearly a part of their entry requirements on their website. So that raised a point of concern for me. And then also my other question was, currently in the motion that it said that they were given temporary status and that now they're being given permanent status. So my question is that if any of the board members are here that would be able to speak on that, can they tell us basically why were they given temporary status and why has it been made permanent then if they were already an existing part of this community for the past 20 years?
I'm sorry, can you split your questions? I'll answer the first question, which I believe is this organization not open to the general public. Is that correct?
Yes.
The events are all open to the general public. Just to plan events, to be part of the event planning process, you need the requirements listed before. Events like MedConnect or the charity drives, anyone can enter. They're ticketed, so you have to buy like a $15 ticket, but it's not, this wouldn't be any different from like a conference run by SMA or HRSA. And even if there was a general membership fee, there are already clubs that operate with a membership fee, like FU Taiwanese Association or the various Chinese clubs where you have to pay a $5 entry fee to join. What is the second question?
The second question was regarding their status. In the motion that was passed, I'm going off of the report that was given by Jennifer, it said that they were given temporary status as a club this past year or so, and now they've been given permanent by this motion that was just passed at your last meeting. Could you maybe explain or give us some background to that?
Sure. So they originally had permanent status up until last year, when SFU Senate, or not Senate, like SU administration brought down the hammer, saying that SFU does not want to be associated with fraternities, because fraternities in movies, they do all these bad things and it's bad for our reputation, which is why their status was demoted to a temporary status expiring in April. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Helen, you may speak.
Thank you, Zaid. I'm just going off the top of my head right now on two things. Poom, you're more than welcome to respond to it. The first thing going off the top of my head is just echoing what Zaid was talking about in terms of membership and people coming into the fraternity or sorority or under the SFSS, a club. Maybe a recommendation I would make in terms of making sure people are included if they wanted to join this kind of fraternity or a sorority atmosphere, is maybe the SFSS board enforcing some kind of inclusivity regulation in making sure that these fraternities and sororities do not discriminate against people of their color or their race or their GPA or something like that. It could settle the water here. And then the next thing that I also wanted to ask you, Poom, or any of the board members in this meeting, I have some direct contact with Alpha Kappa Psi. A lot of my closest friends are a part of that fraternity, and they have not heard any of these details whatsoever that you are speaking about in terms of their status being reinstated as a club in good standing with the SFSS. So I'm asking you, from a check and a point of checking you in terms of transparency, why has this not been communicated with Alpha Kappa Psi? Thank you.
Jennifer, you're the first direct response.
Yeah, so my response is regarding the inclusivity thing. So when I met with Phi Delta Epsilon, which is the pre-med professional fraternity, they made it really clear that they don't really discriminate. So they are co-ed, so they accept pretty much everyone, but the group itself is like for pre-med students. So it's like, for example, the knitting club, you wouldn't join, like we're open to everyone, but you wouldn't join if you weren't like interested in knitting. Same thing for pre-med, this professional fraternity, you wouldn't really join if you weren't like interested in pre-med. Of course, they would accept most people or everybody who would join, but you know, there's like specialized interest for this group. They did make it very clear that they're co-ed and they're very inclusive, but it's just people might not join if it's like not their area of interest, you know?
Yeah, so what I spoke about earlier, if you go onto their website to look at how do you join, one of the things that they stipulate is that you have to have a CGPA of 3.2 or higher. So I see that as a form of discrimination against people who may not have a high enough GPA to be admitted into this. So that's a sticking point for me, allowing that to be. Yeah, I can send you the website right now. Yeah, so if you guys just click this link here and go to join now, you can see that they stipulate that you have to have a 3.2 CGPA or higher. I think that's discriminatory in itself. Not everyone who may be wanting to get the information or to join this fraternity may be able to have that kind of GPA. I think that's something that maybe the board should deal with if they're going to have them as a club. Sorry there, Poom, you have your direct response.
Just to clarify on membership, all the events are open to the general public. The main events themselves being MedConnect and the charity drive, which I forget the name of. That is all open to the general public. The reason why the GPA requirement exists is to boast that the organization, or at least Phi Delta Upsilon SFU, has had a up like 90% admittance rate for medical schools. And if you were to become, as part of the planning committee, which is what the fee is for and not for general membership, you would generally need a 3.3 GPA at least to be able to make it into medical school. In terms of why the notification that their club status is now permanent being changed or not being communicated to Alpha Kappa Psi, this is my bad, I suppose. I assumed that member services would have sent a notification or email over to Alpha Kappa Psi to let them know that they will continue to become a permanent club. But if it didn't happen, then they should be notified promptly.
Thank you, Poom. Helen, you have your response.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Poom, just for clarifying that. Just my friends from that group, they've always been asking me about what's going on in terms of their status with the SFSS, and unfortunately I can't give any response because I'm not in that position of power to do so and don't have that information at all. So thank you for clarifying that. I hope that you do reach out to them and clear the water in terms of their status, as they're quite eager to know about what's going on. And just to, I guess, counter Jen's point, I'm really sorry, Jen. I really hate to be confrontational with you. I'm so sorry. There is a group, like the Pre-Law Society at SFU. It is a club. You don't have to pay to get in. Majority of people that join the club are interested in law, but you don't have to pay a fee to be a part of it. Yeah, I'm really sorry, Jen. So I'm just making a point here that, yes, you're right. Every club is tailored to specific interest, a common interest that people have to share. Like I also don't see why we need to pay fees or allow groups to have people pay fees just to be a part of it. If we have a pre-law society that's attracting pre-lawyers to join before they graduate, you know, I just don't see why. But I don't know if I'm making sense here, Zaid, but that's just the point I'm trying to make here.
Thank you, Helen. Poom, you have a response.
The GPA requirement is mostly to keep their reputation alive, as like 90% of all graduates of Phi Delta Upsilon have been admitted into medical school, where like only 5% of applications sent to medical school are accepted. In terms of the difference between pre-law and Phi Delta Upsilon is that Phi Delta Upsilon is an organization, it's like internationally recognized, while Pre-Law Society is a group of individuals at SFU interested in law school, which is qualitatively different.
Right. So when it comes to having a GPA requirement, though, for an SFSS club, because this is what you guys have made it, right, through allowing them to be associated with it, I find that it would go against SFSS policy then for having no form of discrimination against members. Like if you were to compare it to, say, another group, say one of the clubs that I was a part of, right, the Pakistani Student Association, if we were to have block people from joining the club or becoming an exec because they weren't Pakistani, they didn't have that as their background, right? I see that in a somewhat similar sense, that you are taking something that might be something that they can't really change. It's a bit discriminatory you're taking basically your group's interests over inclusivity and for your memberships from all the students at school. So I mean, there are probably people out there who say would want to join the frat, want to join that, and they can't because they don't have the GPA that they're looking for. I think that that's not something that you guys should be allowing within the SFSS per our policies with inclusivity. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Yes, Serena?
I was just wondering, since we're talking about discrimination, is the fee of like $200 or $100 every September waived for low-income students? Because then you could make it class-based, like comparison, like you're discriminating based on class. But I'm not sure. I understand why it could be a slippery slope. Like a lot of other clubs ask for fees too, but obviously they're substantially lower.
Right, so that is another area to look into. I think that all of these things should be considered by the board before allowing these fraternities to be officially part of the SFSS. These are some things that should be addressed, and maybe they should rectify it within the fraternity's own admissions process. I can't speak on it too much because obviously I'm not a part of any of these frats. I haven't looked too deep into their policies. Foom, you have a direct response?
I won't defend the $100 entry fee. I think that is a ridiculous price to pay. But in terms of the GPA requirement, I understand why it's there. If the club mandate is to get people like guaranteed admitted into medical school, a lot of research labs and professors do require a GPA requirement in order to apply for the labs which are necessary for admittance into medical school. If someone with a low GPA were to be part of the planning committee of Phi Delta Epsilon, I think they would not benefit as much as would someone with a higher GPA, because they would be denied many, it'd be a scam at that point, because they wouldn't be allowed to participate in it, many of the activities that the organization would be participating in. Yeah.
Right. I mean, my sticking point on this is, should we allow clubs to discriminate against students based on their GPA for their membership in a club? Should we allow clubs to be able to say that if you don't have a minimum 3.5, you're not allowed to join this club, you cannot join our membership? You can attend our events and pay the entry fees, but you'll never be allowed to become an executive in our club because of your, say, mediocre or lower, well, 3.5 is mediocre, but you get the point, right? That's my sticking point with this. I think that's something that should be resolved between the SFSS and this club, that they cannot discriminate against students based on their GPA, no matter whether, that means that their membership will not be getting into getting into medical school. I mean, that's more their problem with their reputation. This is something that's going to be affecting the SFS's reputation as an inclusive student society.
I have a comment, but I'm just speaking from my phone right now. Can be added to the list.
Yeah, we have Jennifer first. I'll let you speak after her.
Yeah, thanks, Zaid. So I actually talked to Phi Delta Epsilon about this GPA requirement, and it's not like they're actively checking students' transcript. Like Pim said, it's more that there's high academic standards, especially for medical school and how competitive it is. But I am 100% sure that they're not going to hold it against anybody if they don't have that high of a GPA. I think the rule is just there, but it's not enforced. As well with the website, I think it's because this motion was approved. This motion to make the clubs have permanent group status was approved relatively recently. They might not have time to update anything. We will be having continued conversations with these professional fraternities, because now that they are permanent clubs with the SFSS, they would have to abide by our rules, and our rules are talking about inclusivity, so we can continue talking with them about that.
And it's good to hear. I mean, that's just a point that I wanted to bring up with this discussion, right? Is that as we are, the SFSS, right? We should be pushing for inclusivity with all of the clubs and organizations that we are affiliated with, and that this is something that should be brought up by the board when they do deal with instating these organizations as clubs. Whom, did we already get to you? I think we did. Quince, you can have your direct response, and then we'll let the person on the phone number speak afterwards.
Hi. I understand that rule about the GPA might be unenforced, but that doesn't change the fact that anyone who sees the rule, who's trying to go through the application process, will see the rule, and many of them will just stop because, oh, I don't meet their minimum requirements anyway. I don't see how the rule being unenforced is something we should take in their favor. If it's unenforced, they should get rid of it or keep it, but we should treat it like it's a rule they enforce, because the mere existence of it creates some enforcement.
All right, thank you, Quince. The counselor speaking from their phone, you may go next.
Yes, labor studies. I just want to echo Quince's point and also your point, Mr. Chair. The point about, I don't, like, in terms of equity, I think it's good that if you're planning to be a lawyer, if you're planning to be a doctor, those academic like eligibility like points are there. But in terms of equity goes, people who might not have that GPA but also want to have like the resources for med school or to become a lawyer, having that point there about GPA is unintentionally discriminatory. So it might, like as Jennifer said, 3.2 might not be strictly enforced, but echoing what Quinn said, it can be unintentionally discriminatory.
Thank you. Just checking the list again. Roland, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I think a bit of a response to what Jennifer was saying with how the board is now going to work with these fraternities and sororities to make sure that they aren't discriminatory. And to me, that seems like the complete backwards way this should be happening. You know, before admission into the SFSS and into the board or into the whole society, they should already have met what our requirements are. You know, I recall a year or two ago when we had the whole mess with some of the like pro-life or pro-choice groups on campus, and how that was a big to-do, and we ended up kicking people out because they weren't aligned with the SFSS's goals and directives. And so the idea that we're allowing these fraternities and sororities in, and then sort of post hoc asking them to change what their setup and rules are, seems both, you know, illogical for the way for the SFSS to work, and it also seems just a bad way for these fraternities and sororities to work, having them need to change after having been admitted. It seems really inconvenient for both parties. So I think that, you know, whatever this is moving forward, that should not be how the SFSS is handling itself.
Thank you, Roland. I do agree. Maybe this is something that should have been done beforehand, and I mean, they should have addressed it maybe before they admitted them and passed this motion. Of course, this is afterwards, so they'll have to rectify it now. Let me just go through the list. Balkis, you have a direct response.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify that when a group is not under the SFSS, we have no jurisdiction over what the rules are or what they do. But so we don't actually have a say. But once they are a part of the SFSS, they have to abide by SFSS rules, which means, which means they're gonna have to not be discriminatory, and we will be working with groups to make sure that happens.
Right. So, I mean, when it comes to this, maybe this should have been something that's sorted out like beforehand, right? Where there'd been discussion open between the SFSS and these fraternities and sororities, basically outlining that you can't have these kinds of barriers for people to join. And then if they're in agreement, then letting them in to the SFSS, because I mean, they're the ones that want to join us. We don't necessarily need to have them incorporated as clubs, right? We're giving them students dollars. So we should be setting the rules for them to join. Next on the list, Jennifer.
Yeah, Balkis kind of said what I was going to say. First of all, thank you for bringing this up. You bring up a lot of good points. But also, like, if before these Greek life organizations, the professional fraternities weren't like, if they weren't part of an SFSS club, then we don't really have any right telling them what to do and what not to do, because then they would be an external group, and we're not going to tell, like, we can't really tell an external group, like, this is what you have to do. I do see your point. I did have a few meetings with Phi Delta Epsilon, and we worked out some things and discussed points, but the thing with the fee and the GPA requirement was not brought up, because what I was talking about was more for like genders and co-ed. So I guess I assumed. So my mistake. In future conversations, we'll definitely be making things more clear. But I just wanted to really emphasize that now that they are a permanent club with the SFSS, we do have kind of like jurisdiction. We have the rules, and then they would have to abide by them, if that makes sense.
All right, good to know. I mean, with bringing up this topic, we want to just make it aware and know that you guys are going to be doing your due diligence with that and making sure that they are removing these barriers. So it's good to hear that you'll go over this and speak with them about it. Does anyone, Helen, yes?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask a question. Do any of the board members have any idea how they will make sure that these fraternities or sororities, the groups that they are, how are they going to be, what are you going to do to make sure that they are going to be abiding by SFSS values and rules under SFSS jurisdiction?
If any board members would like to speak to that, you may add yourself as a direct response or list yourself in the chat. Balkis?
Yeah, just like any other club or group on campus, these groups either have to be non-discriminatory or they simply will not be part of the SFSS. It's really pretty clear cut, I guess. Does that answer your question? Or like, do you have a more specific question? But thanks for bringing up the topic of inclusivity. It's really important.
Corbett?
I kind of, for an actual specific action, because of the amount of clubs we have, we tend to operate on a complaint-based basis. So we would have to act first on someone complaining that the club is violating, in this case, the fraternity is violating a club policy, and then we'd have to investigate afterwards. Because of the amounts of when we wouldn't be able to police each individual ones. And so that's where we'd be at right now.
All right, thank you, Corbett. Is there any discussion on this? Does anyone else want to say anything regarding the topic? Seems we got some good discussion going. Oh, hello, Saab. You may speak.
Hey, and hi, everyone. Thanks for having me so late in the meeting. I do apologize. I haven't been feeling that great today, so I thought I'd take a day off, but I did want to provide some context if it's helpful regarding the Greek life organizations. So this has been a very long-standing conversation. We did visit it on the board last year, and at the end of the day, it's going to be complicated, I think, no matter how we look at it, simply because, you know, these Greek life organizations are not typical clubs, but at the same time, they are still made up of our membership, undergraduate students. And if they do have a mission that aligns with our values, then it is kind of our responsibility to support them financially and with other resources the same way that we would any other club. So I totally understand the concern around making sure that it isn't exclusionary and making sure that, you know, there's no preferential treatment being given to these organizations, which is why moving from this point onwards, we've essentially committed to integrating them into the SFSS. Whatever it takes to get to the point where they are functional under our rules and our guidelines is what we're going to do. And that is going to be making sure that there are ways for students who want to be involved to get involved. That's going to mean more conversations with these groups in particular. That's going to mean a lot of learning on our part, because the issue of Greek life at SFU has been a very, very long thing. There it's something that Jennifer and I and Poom have met with a lot of our coordinators and other campus groups to kind of figure out what the history was and why that Greek life organizations have been so contentious in the first place. But the way we see it is that we have a right to our membership to support them. And as of right now, our rules are our rules, and any group or club that isn't abiding by our rules are under review under the SFSS. We'll make sure that there are ways that we can make them fit within our organization that is fair to everyone and is fair to the members who are interested in joining. So that's not any particular commitment now, because as I said, it's going to be a learning process as we go, but I don't think it would be fair for us to continue to deny these students when they haven't done anything to essentially deserve that denial. So I hope that the council will follow us through this journey and, you know, continue to hold us to account and ask these tough questions that need to be asked. And we'll be here to answer them whenever we can, even if we're sick. So feel free to connect with us as we kind of go through this, and we'll make sure to give updates as needed if council does require that. So just let us know.
All right, thank you, Osab. Poom, you have the floor.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points. I think certainly the fee requirement should be removed. It's blatantly discriminatory against people who might not have the income to support that. I think in terms of the GPA requirement, we can still, because the club's mandate is to admit as many people as they can to medical school, the wording can definitely be changed a bit, like rather than required GPA or like recommended GPA, and don't require people to disclose the GPA at all, to have that removed, I think is something that I am willing to push these groups to do.
All right, thank you, Poom. Is there any other discussion on this item? Had quite a bit of discussion on this, spent quite a while on it. Have we exhausted any interest? Yes, Usab?
Yeah, and just as an informational piece, I know that there is some concern about making sure that students are kind of on board with the issue as well. And twice in the past, I don't remember what the exact years were, that issue was actually raised to the membership, and both times the membership voted in favor to have both social and professional Greek-like organizations as a part of the SFSS. So it is historical. Of course, this didn't happen this year, but historically, students have been in favor of having these organizations be a part of the SFSS, which I think is a good indicator for the, I think, appropriateness of the decision that we made.
All right, thank you, Asab. Just on the personal kind of note here, I mean, bringing up this item in a discussion we've had, I mean, I'm not necessarily against having them as part of the SFSS. The main point that I wanted to have discussed is the barriers that are usually present in Greek life organizations when it comes to membership and who can join. So it's great to see that we've had some discussion on this, and that there'll be some work done on this to speak with them and to make sure that they do follow basically the values of the SFSS when it comes to equity and inclusivity. Again, is there any discussion? Anyone else would like to speak on this topic? Whew, all right, that was quite a bit of kind of intense discussion there. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to our final discussion item here. So board committee updates. I have a report from the counselor on the BIPOC committee, Victor. So let me just pull it up here. He wanted me to read it out to everyone. So the BIPOC committee met on Tuesday, August 18th. The committee will be meeting with Health and Counseling next meeting to discuss initiatives for BIPOC mental health. The committee also discussed President Petter's statement on changing SFU Athletics' name, and will be formulating a response to voice students' concerns over Petter's erasure of Black student activism, labor, and trauma. And finally, the committee had discussions over strategic planning for the year. They next meet on Tuesday, September 1st. Just a little bit of a report on behalf of the governance committee, which I'm part of. the governance committee has continued the discussion regarding the bylaw reform and the new governance models that are being proposed. The chair has struck a working group, an informal working group between the governance committee and the council governance and oversight committees. So there are council members who are part of this working group, and we're basically working out the details of implementing this new system. If anyone is interested in attending this working group, you can send me your email, and I can send it to the chair of the governance committee, and you can join in and have your say regarding this if you have anything you'd like to say regarding the model that we've proposed. Would any other councillors like to give an update regarding the board committees they are a part of? Yes, Serena?
So yeah, I can provide an update on the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Jennifer went over it a bit already, so I'll be quick. So we went over our annual plan, which includes hiring an accessibility coordinator and starting up a bursary for accessibility needs. We have COVID-19 clear masks, collaboration with SFU Health and Counseling, increased funding for psychotherapy. We're also looking into student care coverage and to find out if psychotherapy would be part of that or covered under the accessibility fund. The committee is also looking to hire an accessibility designated assistant. And I think that's it. We also just outlined our priorities for the year, which is along with the annual plan. So it's just getting things started at the moment.
All right, thank you, Serena. That's great stuff to hear about. I think it is important that psychotherapy be included in our student care that we're paying for. I think it's important for us as it is quite difficult to get access to health and counseling with the long wait lists that are present. So it's definitely an important thing to be looking at, and I look forward to hearing updates and seeing what happens. Helen?
Yes, thank you. So not for any updates in terms of UAA for the UAA committee, first and foremost. Unfortunately, I don't have an extensive update on that committee. Some family members in my home have gone through some health issues, and so I haven't been able to be a part of those meetings thoroughly. So my apologies for that. As far as what I know, what the UAA committee is doing is just looking into tuition and just making sure SFU doesn't increase it, especially for international students. But aside from that, it's been made apparent to me that some counselors, appointed counselors that have been appointed to the board committees have not been emailed or notified by their respective chairs of those board committees. So if you are a counselor, a part of a board committee that has not had any notification from the chair of that committee whatsoever, please let me know so I can get in contact with that board member to get you guys connected. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Would anyone else like to speak on this discussion item? Yes, Adrienne?
I apologize if my internet lags. Hopefully not. So I don't too much because Jen already covered a lot. Just with regards to our annual events plan. I think I'd just like to touch on some of the upcoming events we have that I'm helping out on. Is we have Bob Ross Paint Night, the food workshops, trivia, and a movie night, speed friend game, and then we're trying to do a pets meet and greet because we've been, I don't know if you guys know about the hives for incoming students to SFU, which was implemented into SFU 101. It's home for interactive virtual engagement. So we've been seeing a lot of interest from students there. And they've mentioned a lot of events that they want to see. So we're trying to really utilize that and have some hives attend some of our events as a group. So we think it's a great way to increase our attendance and engage first-year students because they keep asking about what kind of virtual events we're going to have because they really do want to be involved and get into the SFU community. And then, yeah, just with the regards to, Jen also already touched on this, but the SFSS events Instagram, I've also been helping out with that. So I encourage you all to give that a follow. And yeah, that's everything with regards to the events committee.
All right, thank you, Adrienne. Would anyone else like to speak? All right, seeing no more interest in discussing this item, we're going to move on. Announcements, our next meeting is September 2nd. It's 2 weeks from now. All right, we're going to move to adjournment. Be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 6:07 p.m. Does anyone move this motion? Would anyone like to?
History moves.
History moves. Does anyone second?
Sophomores.
I'll second.
SAAT seconds. All right, seeing no discussion, we're going to move to vote. Seeking unanimous consent. If you dissent, please unmute your microphone now. All right, seeing no objections, this motion carries. All right, thank you, everyone. We're done with our meeting today. It was great to have some discussion, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.